What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with a video where this time once again, we're going to look at NBA superstar, that being Giannis Antetokounmpo. And right now Giannis in the preseason has been on fire with his jump shot, from the mid-range, the post, and even the three. And this has many fans wondering, has Giannis actually gotten better in this short off season? And in this video very quickly, I'll make my case that this version of Giannis is here to stay, and this hot streak is not a fluke. So first up in this video, let's talk about Giannis in the preseason and what he showed me. What I've noticed, he's much more comfortable shooting the jump shot off the dribble as well as off the catch. And we look at his stats, they're simply flawless. From every area on the court, Giannis has been dominating. 8 to 16 feet, 16 to 24 feet, the mid-range, jump shots in general, fadeaways, even turnarounds. Giannis right now is definitely on a hot streak and he's come out motivated for this season. And these stats, as you guys know, they're not sustainable, and he's not going to shoot 100% on fadeaways or even 70% on mid-range jump shots. That's simply impossible, even for the best offensive player. But looking past the numbers, once again, the eye test is very important in this scenario. And when you watch Giannis, he's always been confident in his jump shot, even if it's not falling. But I think this year, he has a newfound confidence in his jump shot and his overall play. And where that stems from is the NBA playoffs, specifically the NBA Finals. And the game I look to is in that Game 6, where Giannis had 50 points on 17-19 shooting from the free throw line. Yes, I am still harping on this game all this time later, because it was that important for Giannis' legacy, as well as his mental confidence, which is very, very underrated. Once again, this guy, in the biggest game of his career, shot 17-19 from the free throw line. The previous game in Game 5, he shot 4 for 11, 36%. The mental strength and toughness he has is a very rare trait you find in pro athletes. And also a big factor in his mental game is winning the championship and getting that monkey off his back. That is an immense relief to Giannis, his overall legacy, and the city of Milwaukee. And I know some NBA fans, they hate the eye test, it's so subjective, and it varies from person to person, so to back up my claims, let's look at Giannis and his improved shooting when it came to playoffs. And first up, we'll look at his stats from the regular season. Giannis, when it came to jump shots, shot 22.2% from the field, shooting 34 of 153. On pull-up jump shots, he shot 35.4% on 51 of 144 attempts. Even for a big man like Giannis, those are some piss-poor stats. And in my personal view, Giannis, sometimes he goes away from his strengths and tries to be a 7-foot sniper like Kevin Durant. The problem is KD is a one-of-one talent and a basketball unicorn. So where Giannis found his strengths was in the mid-range and inside the paint, preferably in the 10 to 14 feet range. And looking at his shooting splits, they're very telling for how good he was in the playoffs. On 10 to 14 feet, he shot 49%, on fadeaways 44%, turnarounds 48.5%, on hook shots 58%. So for Giannis, when he plays to his strengths, he's simply unstoppable. And watching the game film, his fadeaway shots and his turnaround shots, they really did impress me in the finals. That was a go-to weapon that worked more times than not. And when digging deep on these numbers, the area he excelled in was 8 to 16 feet. That was his money range and his sweet spot. On those shots in the playoffs, he shot 46%. Look at some other players on this list in that same range. Trae Young was at 48%, Paul George at 35%, Luka at 47%, and Jokic the MVP at 38%. Virtually all those guys as jump shooters are much better than Giannis in that aspect. But when it came to the playoffs, Giannis was on par or better than most of these players, which is a pretty encouraging sign for the 2022 season. And for the past 4 to 5 years, I've been a big fan of Giannis, specifically with his mentality and his overall mental mindset. And dating back even 2 years ago, I always said the best comparison for Giannis to an NBA legend was Kevin Garnett. Now Giannis is a skilled basketball player, isn't on the level of KG right now, but at 26 years old, I definitely see some parallels in both these guys' games. And if you know KG, he dominated in the mid-range on turnarounds, fadeaways, and sometimes he could even pull it out to 20 feet and knock it down at a pretty high clip. And looking at the playoff stats for KG at 26 years old, they're pretty darn impressive. On 8 to 16 feet, he shot 46.7%, on 10 to 14 feet, 48.9%, in the mid-range, his sweet spot, 49.4%, and on turnarounds, a ridiculous 92.9%. So KG in his prime at his peak was the master of the mid-range and have perfected the turnaround jump shot. From a skill perspective, it's pretty hard to reach that. I don't know if Giannis ever will, but Garnett to this day, I think, is the best comparison for Giannis and who he should strive to be. Forget being Kevin Durant shooting 35-foot bombs, be Kevin Garnett, dominate the mid-range, perfect your turnarounds as well as your fadeaways, and as always, dominate at the basket and around the rim. Now, taking a step back from shooting, let's look at Giannis and his overall legacy at 26 years old. Right now, he's a 2-time MVP and a 1-time Finals MVP, as well as a Defensive Player of the Year and a numerous All-Defensive player. Look at some other big-time legends at that same age. LeBron, Jordan, Hakeem, you could add Kobe, possibly Kareem, and a host of other NBA legends who are less accomplished than Giannis at 26. One of the only players in NBA history comes close is Tim Duncan, who was a 2-time MVP and a 2-time Finals MVP by age 26. That, from a legacy standpoint, is pretty comparable to Giannis. And right now, I'm going to give my take that by year's end, Giannis will have 2 Finals MVPs on his mantle. Yes, I think the Bucks are going to win the championship in 2022. In the East, they're going to beat the Nets again. In the NBA Finals, they're probably going to beat the Lakers. That's my overall prediction and what I think is going to happen. When I look at the Nets and the Lakers, both those teams have some flaw when it comes to chemistry and roster makeup. The Lakers, they're very old, they have a great big three, but how conducive is that big three to winning championships? Do they all fit, and can they work together? Looking at Brooklyn right now, they have a duo of KD and Harden because Kyrie is out. I think if that's the case in the playoffs, the Bucks once again are going to beat that Nets team. And I think this time, they'll be in pretty convincing fashion. And you can have your predictions, who you think's going to win, who you think's going to lose. I just think the Bucks this year, they have newfound confidence, they're NBA champions, and Giannis is primed to take over this league and make his mark as an all-time great player. Also looking down the list, I love Milwaukee's bench and what they've done. They have new players like Rodney Hood, Grayson Allen, they have Bobby Portis coming back, they have a healthy DiVincenzo, they still have Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, even George Hill, and Giannis himself. I think that team right there, from an overall depth standpoint, is up there with the best teams in the NBA. And having depth in the playoffs, it is pretty important. What it comes down to is having a superstar player. And I think Giannis, he's that guy. And this year in 2022, he's going to have a huge leap when it comes to skill and being a skilled basketball player, specifically a good shooter in the mid-range, on his turnarounds, as well as his fadeaways. So that right there is my overall thoughts on Giannis. I think his hot streak is not a fluke, and I think Giannis' improved shooting is going to continue to get better. And when it's all said and done, he'll be a clear-cut best player in the world, and his Bucks team will once again be NBA champions. So as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.